Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you yet.
You have the right to remain silent.
Yeah, I just saw your character expired.
Because it's in a TV. Do you have a single fact to back that up?
You know, this is the one where think you're funny.
You understand me?
I think you need to go get a dictionary.
Well. We are back again.
I see you have a beverage on your side of the table.
Yeah.
Last time I had my coffee cup right here, but because you took so long to set all this up, I've already drank in it, and it's an empty cup now.
Do you want me to apologize?
No, because your cup is still full, which indicates that you've been working hard, not drinking.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Just remember that.
I have a little something right over here.
Okay.
I'm going to blow it in your face this whole podcast.
So what are we going to talk about?
I don't know. The first thing I see is that Eagles thing on your shirt, so we could just start with that.
You want to talk about the Eagles football team?
I take that back. I really don't.
I don't either.
Well, we could say that, look, a lot of our personalities are in what we're wearing. Like,
to a certain extent.
You got your Eagles. I got my Night of the Living Dead shirt.
You got your Dawn movies.
No. This guy thinks that all three of the original...
I don't think that. It was a comment I made, okay?
More than once. Kept just jumping out of your mouth. The Dawn movies. Okay, there's only one Dawn movie. But whatever, it's okay. I know what you mean. Yeah. But anywho, yeah, I don't really give a shit about football so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I can enjoy a game. I can get into a game. That's probably only happened like three or four times in my whole life where I'm watching football and I can actually get into it.
Right.
But it's been for like 4 different teams each time. It's not like every time it's been like, yeah, go Ravens, go Steelers.
Right.
But like I remember that game where the Patriots, it was a Super Bowl game and they were down by like a lot. Yeah. And a lot of people were just turning off their TVs and leaving the stadium because they're like, well, there's no coming back from this. But I just kept watching. Maybe I had to have been preoccupied with something else, or maybe my night was just really that dull that I had nothing to do but stare at the Super Bowl. But they
came mean like other millions of Americans.
Sure, yeah. It dropped to about maybe 500,000 after the Patriots were getting destroyed during that game. Right. But I actually, even though I don't give a shit about football like at all, I'm watching that game and I remember getting so amped up just because of the comeback was so insane. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm a Patriots fan or anything. I just wanted to see something crazy happen. Right. And so then it did. And I was just like, wow, a lot of people are really, really pissed off right now. And a lot of people are really, really elated right now. Right. And that was just interesting to me. And it turned out that way. They came back and won. I don't know how many points they were down.
Yeah, it was an interesting. I think I know which one you're talking about. You're probably talking about the one where they were playing the Atlanta Falcons and
the Falcons hadn't won.
They hadn't won a Super Bowl or whatever.
Not since 1890.
And they had a great chance and they let it slip right through their fingers.
They probably were giving each other some dirty looks in the locker room after that game was over. The coach was probably like, oh, you guys are just such a disappointment. You let me down. You let yourselves down.
Right.
You should just quit football right now.
Right.
Kind of like that videographer said to that person that lost their footage or accidentally deleted their drive. We mentioned on the first podcast that Alex and I do wedding videography. Right. That's our bread and butter, our main shtick. Oh, look, we're getting another business call. Well, we'll call you back, whoever you are. Oh, well, he's just gonna take it. It might be important. But so what we were talking about yesterday is we're part of this Facebook group that wedding videographers are a part of, and this one girl put on there that, oh no, I accidentally deleted all the wedding footage from a wedding that I just shot, and I don't know how to get it back. And if that happens to you, you're already like in a very disparaging state. You're not feeling your best. And the last thing you need is for Captain Hindsight to swoop in there and say, oh, you should have done this. You could have done that. But then this dude said, well, you should just quit. If I did that, if I shot a wedding and I accidentally deleted all of the client's footage, I would just quit. That's what you should do. You should just quit videography. I don't think that's really the way to go about it. But anyway, he's still over there doing his thing with the phone. He has this very confused look on his face. You can't see it because he's not cutting to his face. He's in control of the panel, which changes cameras, and he doesn't want you to see his face right now. I'm not even sure what he's doing over there. He's still over there just dialing about on his phone. He's got this little smirk on his face. So I guess we're okay. I guess it wasn't terrible that we missed that phone call. Life is working out just fine. Anywho, so we don't originally, when we started this, the idea was we're going to watch a movie, and then right after the movie we'll sit down here and we'll talk about it. We'll have a podcast about it. But for this one, we couldn't come up with anything. There's only so many hours in the day, so we just figured we'll have a free form discussion. It'll just go where it goes.
And what are we talking about?
We were talking about football, but I'm so ready to move on from that
Yeah, that was your fault.
because I don't give a shit. Everything cool? We good? Somebody's playing us.
Yes, they are.
I guess they just aren't waiting for the leave a message. Do we even have that set up?
A voicemail?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
that's
just your voice.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well,
Fine. Whatever.
I'm not going to say our business.
You're not going to say our business? We'll give you a hint.
Just keep talking.
We'll give you a hint. Our business rhymes with
No, I was
the name of this
talking about
podcast.
the business number. I don't want to give that out online.
Oh God, no. We would just get phone calls nonstop forever.
Yeah.
We'd have to change our numbers. We'd have to redo all of this stuff. Well, so here we are on November 21st. And pretty soon, the next big significant thing that is about to happen in our world is PS5 or Xbox Series X.
Yep.
I saw on the little caricatures of us for the podcast cover, your guy's shirt said X2X.
Yeah.
What's the meaning behind that?
I have no idea. That was the
It
artist.
kind of sounds like the name of Xbox's next Xbox.
That was the
Xbox 2 XX.
artist. I guess what would you call that artist? Give me some help here. What do you call that?
That was just
Artist privilege.
He took creative liberty.
Creative liberty. Okay. So I'll cut to the computer. This is what Matt's talking about in the logo, X2X or Y2X. I guess it's X2X.
Can they see that from back there?
Huh? No, I cut to the computer.
Oh, you're doing all kinds of fancy stuff over there.
I mean,
from
I
the
told
panel.
you that, but
I knew
So,
about these three cameras and
so yeah, originally when I gave just general direction, I asked if maybe we could have like name tags of some sort, and obviously Matt didn't get anything. He just got his maroon hoodie,
which
and
I don't
then-
actually have.
yeah, and then I had a black hoodie on at
Which
the
looks more
time.
like my hoodie.
But yeah, I'm not sure what that's about.
I have no idea. Maybe I really am interested to know though. Maybe you'll have to reach out to that guy and just be like, what's the meaning behind this?
Right. See, look. See? That's that. That's the screen
Okay.
when I cut to the screen.
Okay. Learning as we go.
So why I'm so confused over here is so we just had two phone calls, okay, to our business number. The phone number that called twice is 1 digit different than ours. So I text the number back and just said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't hear you when I pick up the phone. What can I help you with?" And the response, I got 2 responses. The first one was ugly, and then the second one was play Frog Night.
Ugly play Frog Night.
Yeah.
Maybe they mean
And
Fortnite?
then I just question mark, sorry, this is a business number. So,
and their number is only 1 digit off from our number.
yeah, it's like eerily close. I had to look up our number to make sure it wasn't ourselves texting ourselves. You were over there with a hidden phone.
Hey, the angle of that camera, my hands have been visible this whole time. I am not the culprit you're looking
Probably
for.
touching something.
Not yet.
So let's talk about
something
like our past, I guess. So we titled this episode "Let's Talk," so we just can kind of, ramble on. But last episode I said introduce yourself, and you were like, we'll get to that. Don't worry about it. Let's just do that for everybody in a sense where let's just kind of explain where we came from and why we're here now.
After we have 1,000 episodes, people will go way back in the
Yeah.
archives and find our first couple and be like, "Oh, okay,
Right.
so that's what they're all about."
Right.
Okay, origin stories. Yeah,
Right. So maybe maybe a better title would be Origin Stories.
Well, we could change that later.
Okay. So Matt and I went to a tiny little high school that no one's ever going to hear about. It was a private school, very sheltered. I'm not smacking it. It was a great experience. We built at least a general relationship at that high school. Okay. Became friends, and it was right towards the end of high school, I guess. Matt had known, no, it was right after high school when I went to Sheffield.
Yeah.
And then you were like, "Hey,
This guy likes video stuff too.
yeah, do you want to come over and make a movie?" And being fresh out of basically pre and post production film courses, I was like, well, of course I want to do something with the stuff I just learned. So we ended up in his backyard making, which he referenced in the first podcast, some of the stupidest videos you will ever see on YouTube. Ironically, they
A psychologist
gathered-
should examine those.
well, they gathered like what I would call a borderline cult following to a sense. Especially our zombies videos did surprisingly good
We weren't
for what we were doing.
When we first started it, we're like, well, obviously we want to enjoy making whatever it is. We want whatever the subject matter is to be near and dear to our heart in some sense. So the first thing we end up doing is this video about this dude or some kind of mysterious being, leprechaun guy that wears a green shamrock hat and overalls, which I got from my mom. She had like these denim overalls that also were like onesies, but then became short shorts.
Yeah,
And then they had like
they were like cut
little
off
flowers.
overalls, yeah.
like a little flower bed, like right here on
Yeah.
the chest part of
It
it.
was adorable.
And it was that. And I think I was wearing like my Converse All Stars
Yeah,
with a black whatever the hell kind of hat you call that.
it was a green
Or
hat.
green hat. And that was the look. And the idea
Yeah.
was this dude gets his Lucky Charms stolen
Yeah,
from somebody in the neighborhood. And then he goes on a murderous rampage, tearing apart the neighborhood,
Yep.
trying to find his Lucky Charms.
and it was awesome
Yeah, it
in a
was
very specific
in
way.
a very
it was,
specific way.
It was just probably one of the more fun things we could have ever done,
Yeah.
because it was just pure like,
Stupid, simple idea.
this is what it is, and
Made it up as
it's
we
just
went
gonna
along.
be awesome.
As we were shooting it, we were just coming up with shit along the way.
Right.
We had no ending. The only thing we knew was that this guy's pissed off because someone stole his Lucky Charms, and you brought over a whole arsenal of airsoft guns,
Yes, I did.
like 20 of them, which my eyes just lit up like a little kid on Christmas when I saw that, because I just saw
Yeah.
that and I was like, the possibilities.
Right.
And
And
to
it was
this
awesome.
to this day, only one of those guns has survived after 10 years.
Well,
The shotgun. That was the main primary weapon of the Leprechaun guy, was the shotgun, and that we
Yeah.
still have that shotgun today. All the other guns
yeah,
that fell apart no longer.
that were just nothing.
It's amazing if they could even survive one shoot.
Well, some of the shoots that we had were a bit rough on us and, just in general, everything.
Rough on us and the
Yeah.
guns.
Yeah, of course. So just give you a sneak peek of what Matt's talking about here.
Oh, I forgot to mention the purple cape. That was a Joker cape.
Yeah.
There was a little Joker face on it, but I think I flipped it the other way so you couldn't see that.
Right. So this is what Matt is talking about. It's some of the most ridiculous things we've ever done.
So
Boy,
There's me.
I wouldn't recommend touching that if I were you. People end up dying. Do you understand me?
So I'm just going to cut forward to the first time we see Matt.
tripods in the background
And then
of the first 20 shots.
this is just one of the best stills I think we've ever gotten. It just says so much about us. Look at this get up. There's our buddy Seth over here. We didn't care about anything.
You see, I'm even wearing
Hey.
Look at this.
I'm wearing like my Christian wristband.
Yeah.
You
Smiles.
Yeah.
put the Lucky Charms down.
Well, and that's where I'll end that. But you can tell that this was just something special that we were attempting to put together, and it not once ever became that, I think, because we had this such a ridiculous idea of this is what it's going to be, and at least our the first handful of videos, I don't think ever really made that happen.
No. And about that day, I just remember being excited. Like, we got together whoever we could for it. So
Right.
you were down to do it, and two of our friends from the high school that we went to,
Right.
that he mentioned a minute ago, named Seth and Jace. Those two guys came to be a part of the shoot as well. So it was just the four of us.
Yep.
And that's how we came up with the name Thex Films. We took the fourth letter of all four of our names: Matt T, Seth H, Alex.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You get the idea.
We made the name because of the names.
Yeah, we couldn't just like, we got to come up with a name for our channel. We've shot this video.
Right.
We shot this Lucky Charms video. Let's put it up on YouTube. And then we had to do one of the hardest things in the world to do, and that's come up with a name for your channel. And we're like, well, let's take the fourth letter of all four of our names, the original people, and it
Add
made the word Thex.
and add an E.
And we put an E on it because I think someone else had taken Thex
yeah.
Films already.
Which quickly became Thexy
Yeah.
by anybody who talked to us about it.
Not even my own parents or family could say
Right.
it right.
It's like what is it? Thex
The-
the X films,
The Exy Films, the
Yeah.
Thexy Films.
which was it's one of those things that I think it has a sweet soft spot to lay in our hearts.
Oh, for
But
sure.
it's a hilarious thing to look back on because of how just absolutely ridiculous everything was, because
And-
it just was us attempting to do everything and anything that we could just to do a video,
And
which in its own right was pretty magical.
yeah,
Us just we had to do something.
guy running around a neighborhood shotgunning people.
Right.
Very magical.
Now, where we hit, I think, our biggest strides, we ended up doing a 007 video that got some traction, which led us to wanting to do zombies eventually. And the zombie videos are the thing that really kind of like got us something. So
something that just by looking at our old Thex gallery that I find just really interesting is just about every single one of these videos we did back in the day has guns in it.
every single one I think I did. This one I don't think. These two don't.
Okay. Yeah, we did these quick, stupid little spoofy things about a hurricane that had hit one of the years back then. We were just kind of making fun of that. Because everybody we live in southern PA. The school that he mentioned is in Gettysburg, so we're from the Gettysburg area. And this Hurricane Irene, it was like not even classified as a Category 1 by the time it was touching us. And we remember everyone on Facebook just losing their minds.
Losing it, yeah.
Like, oh my God, there's trash cans blowing in the road. And then the other video was the earthquake.
Yep.
Which to this day, I think is like the only one I've ever felt living here where we do.
Yeah.
And people were just losing their minds.
Yeah.
The earth shook for about 3 seconds. And every single person on our Facebook was just like,
right,
earthquake.
Because there's a fault line that runs through an area about 30 to 40 minutes away from here.
And it finally shifted.
Ever
so slightly.
Oh my Lord.
Freaked everybody out.
This was it. This was the end of days.
Yep.
So moving kind of on
but I just
farther in the history.
Wanted to say, like, when we were getting started with After Me Lucky Charms, we were kind of making it up as we went along.
100%.
And so I just, like I said, I remember you arriving with this arsenal of guns, and we're like, well, we don't have any ideas. Coming up with a script is really difficult. But as long as you have guns in there, as long as you have people shooting guns, you have action, and people like action. So that was always kind of like the bedrock of our videos. Like whatever this video is going to be about, there's just going to be guns being shot and people being shot.
Right.
And little action scenes. Because like it kind of felt like that was necessary to like hook an audience in and actually like keep things churning out, because it's such an easy idea.
And this is like a shout out to like Freddie W and Corridor Digital.
They
at that time, because they like fueled our fire of wanting to be as much like them as possible.
I think those were my most fun YouTube days, or channel rather. Was we got started with this Lucky Charms thing. We love doing action. And then we watched the Freddie W Corridor Digital channel Punisher, and they were just so good at action. They were so good at
they were where it's at.
At choreographing it. Like I remember learning so much. I'd watch their videos over and over again, and I would like just watch shot for shot and ask myself, why did they cut to this? Why did they cut here now? And a lot of that stuff very easily sticks with me to this day with how they would talk about, like, if you're going to have an action scene, you should establish your space in beforehand, so that when the action plays out, people aren't confused about where people are in relation to each other.
Right.
And I was like, I remember hearing that, and I was like, wow, that is so true.
Oh, yeah.
How many action scenes do you watch where you're thrust into the scene and guns are being shot and people are falling over and the camera's shaking around and you don't even know where you are?
Right.
There's a shot of a guy holding up a pistol. Boom.
Right.
Cuts to another angle of a guy going, and falling down.
Right.
And then he does it again. And before you know it, the scene is over, and you don't even like, there's no buildup, there's no suspense, there's just no framework to it.
Right.
And I don't know that you can dilute an action scene down any more than that. But like, that's why I find it a lot of fun to watch our early videos, because at the same time we were making those early videos, we were learning, not just from experience, but watching other people that were actually good at it do it. And so taking a lot of pages out of their books. So
and then flash forward to 4 or 5 years ago, we accidentally run into Freddie W at a convention called MagFest that's down in the Maryland region. And he's just like wandering through the halls, and I was like, I remember you were down in the arcade.
Yeah, I was wandering around
And
downstairs.
You came up and found me, and I think we were like walking out of like a concert hall at that point, and you're like, dude, I just saw Freddie W downstairs, and I was like, okay, you're lying. Don't worry. I was like, I think if I'm honest with myself, I was just like, there's a lot of Asian looking people here, and I don't think you saw him. And you were like, no, it had to be him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's go look. And about that time, we started walking down the hallway, and I just happened to look over, and I was like, oh my God, that's Freddie W.
I just remember thinking like, that looks exactly like him, because I was being a creep ass. I like saw him downstairs, and so I was like, that looks a lot like Freddie W. So I kind of like, he was walking around, I kind of kept like a 10-yard distance, and I was trying to get another angle, and I'm like, it can't be him. It can't be. Like, it would make sense that he's at a function like this.
Yeah.
But he's based out of LA.
But it's like, why? Why is he here?
Yeah, why is he all the way over here?
Yeah, and I just remember at that point, because I think you had like walked away from me slightly, because you were like, I'm gonna go back to the same spot so Alex can see Freddie W. And when I saw him, I remember yelling at you and then following him back into the concert hall. And at one point, he's just like really weaving in and out of crowd. And I was like, this is my chance. So I'm just like, Freddie! And he turns around, and I was like, my God, it is him. And he walked straight up to us and was just like, hey guys, what's up? And I was like, can we get a bit, like, that weird starstruck, get a picture, please? Yeah. And
we have to show proof that we found you here.
Right. And it was a very cool experience, because it was just like, man, to finally meet, I would say meet, or to say hi at least, to someone like him that had a lot of influence over like at least the want to try. Yeah. Was just like, man, that was satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved to have stood there and expressed to him, like,
how much, dude, I love you.
Yeah, you don't understand, man. Like, we're not just fans. Like, we were following your stuff, like your tutorial. We weren't just watching your videos. Right. We were watching your second channel too, and we were watching like your behind the scenes and just following it and applying it.
We watched everything.
Yeah. You don't understand. Yeah. And then later, several years after we did Lucky Charms, we ended up doing an action movie back when we were more competent with making action films, or any kind of film really in general. We knew a little bit more about what we were doing, and we shot this biggest project we had ever undertaken in our life. Involved like 15 or 20 people running around with automatic weapons in Henryton, the abandoned hospital complex. So we were those kind of people where if we knew about an abandoned location, like a lot of buildings that we could run around in and shoot movies in, do action scenes in, we'd be all for it. And so this place, Henryton, was near where I grew up, and we shot this 2-part action film there, which to this day we can go back and watch that and still be very proud of it. And we got Clinton Jones, Punisher, which has a strong association with Freddie and Corridor Digital.
Well, he works at Corridor Digital now. He's part of their crew, and I mean, Corridor Digital is still running a channel, and like really beefing up their channel again. And he's a huge part to play in that. So
we were so excited to get Punisher involved in the video, but the only extent that reached was him doing voiceover for us. Like enough of it to make him like one of the characters, but all he was a voice the whole time to the 2 main action heroes of the movie. He was just chirping in their ear, like, "Oh, closing in on your position. Oh, here's your objective. You need to go do this. You need to go do that."
I think it was worth every second.
Oh, for sure.
Just to have him in it, it was just like.
But I remember saying that to Freddie W. and feeling like such a fool, because like
He
Yeah,
has no idea what you're
I know.
talking
We were
about.
both starstruck.
Right.
And
You're like, oh,
you're just like,
Punisher was there.
you ask like a normal question, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And
his response was like, well, seeing Super Soul Bros. And I was like, okay.
and we're here to see you.
Yeah.
But and I was just like, oh yeah, man, your friend Punisher, he worked with us on a video back in the day. He did voiceover work. I'm sure you remember it.
And he's like,
I'm sure Clinton Jones told you all about it, and you just watch it every day, and you've been watching it every day.
I'm sure Clinton has a sticky note that says Thex Films.
Yeah, let's sign each other's tits.
Right.
Here's a Sharpie.
No, that was. I just absolutely love that experience overall.
Like it felt like we had come full circle in a way.
Yeah.
To finally, because we were at the end of the Thex Films era. I think at that point, pretty much, like we had stopped cranking out Thex Films. It was probably completely done, but it felt like that was the proper way to close the book. Was to ultimately meet the guy that inspired the whole channel.
Because if you look at our channel, I would say 7 years ago, 5 years ago was the last. So yeah, like meeting Freddie W was sometime in this period here.
Right.
And this was like the last 4 videos was our best efforts to a video.
I can see though, as we went along with all this, we started to move away from guns being in every single scene and being the bedrock of every single video.
Yeah.
We actually started to try to do a little something called writing.
Right.
Like dialogue and characters and suspense and working on other aspects.
The one
just
thing
guns.
we could not get away from is just violence.
Yeah. Because
so
it's
we
so
did
easy.
get away from the guns, but we definitely never got away from the violence.
The violence, it was just always so easy. The thought in my head was as long as there's violence, there's someone out there going to be watching it. If we try to just write dialogue,
who does that?
Who the hell wants to sit there and watch dialogue?
Right.
But
even Birdman had violence in it, so
yeah, they had to get a few smacks in there. But as we went along with the Thex Films, it was less and less guns and action stuff, and it was more of an incorporation of other elements, like just trying to make writing, like the job interview things that we did with Ian.
Right.
Like those are still fun to watch, or the reptile interviews.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that we've never escaped from is somebody dying in every video. Is there any on there where nobody dies throughout the whole thing?
Let me think.
Oh, Game of Monopoly.
Monopoly, nobody dies.
It's just that me and
dead. I don't think
nobody
anybody dies here.
Nobody died in that. Oh, these had to do with Freddie W.
Yeah, these were Freddie W.
He did a little competition back in the day called Mobile Game Pain, where he had to make a video about that had to do with a phone or something.
Yeah,
and
it
the
was
difficulty
a gaming system of a phone.
Right, the difficulty of using it.
Yeah, so basically every movie up until probably the last row has death.
Oh, Brass Tactics. No one died. Or no, they did.
Yes, they did.
They got capped in the end. For a second, I thought I just kicked the shit out of 2 people, and then they just. That's right. Reptile interview.
Dead.
That's just me and you talking.
Yeah,
which
I die.
I'm very like I am proud of that video.
Yeah.
Because
here
I think it's fun to watch all the way through.
TV tonight. I've got an interesting guest with me tonight. Reptile, part of the Mortal Kombat series of games. The controversy with parents is the violence, the gore. Everybody, go ahead and welcome Reptile, actor, character from the game.
Thank you very much for having me.
Don't thank me yet. I'm going to steamroll you. I'm going to drill
I'm
you.
sure you will.
Okay, let's start this. Now, wouldn't you agree, Mortal Kombat is on the front lines of what is poisoning kids in America today?
Well, look, we go through this whole song and dance every time one of these games comes out. The answer still is and always will be no. These games are not poisoning anybody. It's entertainment.
I just think overall,
you ever throw that drink and kids know the difference between fiction and reality.
It's just a little bit more clever.
Yeah.
People have been killing each other way before video games came out.
Do you have a single fact to back that up? What?
I think
What me?
I think the production level,
Show them the effect at the end, though.
the production level of this one is very like low in a sense of like we didn't spend any money doing this really, but the effect that we had with just the like the adding like a feeling of production was
Over time,
much better.
We accumulated more and more stuff as the years went by, although half of it was always broken.
Right. So here's the ending after I throw water on Reptile.
Which, shout out to Tim Cassidy for creating this effect.
Very harsh.
I love those punches. They look so good.
Yeah, so for the audio listeners, so basically we pulled an Indiana Jones and Tim made us
even his fucking
awesome
jaw moves down. The skull's jaw is going down as it's melting.
So Tim made us a awesome basically jello face that we used really hot water and hair dryer to melt and then just sped the shot up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And the effect with it being practical is great.
Right.
You don't, I mean, obviously it's fake, but you don't question it in the sense.
I think it's the best practical effect of the Thex Films days.
Yeah.
That just came together so wonderfully, and it's a great exclamation point. What happened?
You're over here.
What was I looking?
You keep turning your chair farther this way.
Oh, well, I was looking at the screen.
You don't need to look at yourself when you talk.
Why don't you stop being so concerned about where I'm looking?
Right here.
I'm just going to look where my head goes.
Okay.
My God. Now I forget what the hell I was even saying.
Thex Films days.
What about them?
I don't know.
What specifically about the Thex Films days?
No, we were talking about the head, and you were talking about briefly how we had acquired just so much stuff, and kind of we just became like this self-sufficient. If we want to do it, we know people now.
Yeah,
kind of a deal.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to have people that were crazy enough to want to work with us and keep coming back.
Yeah, for some reason.
We would make this ridiculous thing. We would put it up. People would see it. And we're going to make another video next Saturday. Who's on board? And we had people that would just keep on coming back.
Yeah.
And the videos that are up in the gallery was like 20, 25 videos. There's probably at least another 20, 25 videos that we did make that just never made it up there because just never finished them. They were just like, this is just too stupid. Like, this is so bad. Not even we can see any redeeming qualities, or not enough of them to justify posting it. But
that's 25, 26. Yeah.
Woo. Yeah. I looking at this, probably the one that I'm most proud of would just be Dawn of Reckoning.
Yeah, Dawn of Reckoning is, we put so much time. That was the one that featured Punisher. We put so much time and effort into that, I think that was the first, after the Centralia incident, that was the video that we attempted to put everything we could into. Like, we're like storyboarding, we're writing every piece that we need, and not just, we're like doing the job that you should when you do a movie. And before that, it was like, oh, we have a general idea. I mean, it's just like you said with Lucky Charms, or even partially like the GoldenEye stuff. We just showed up and was like, okay, we know what we want to do because this is the idea we had.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, in the old GoldenEye N64 game, Matt, what happened? Well, the guards were like this. Okay, well then let's shoot like 15 different deaths.
Yeah.
And then we'll add them somehow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there is like kind of a point to the videos, but it was always just kind of like let's show up and see what happens.
Well, it's because we were always like reaching for comedy, and like I keep saying, it was so easy to just make action the thing that just always happened, guns and action and people getting shot. And so I think the reason GoldenEye came out of that so early on was, well, okay, we like using our guns, we like shooting them, we like doing these action scenes. So if we're going to try to be funny, let's have people, and we're going to have people die, let's have them die in funny ways.
Right.
How can we do that? Oh, in GoldenEye, when the guards are really stupid, their AI or whatever would respond like in these really ridiculous ways when you shoot them. They would just fall over in these funny animated ways.
Right.
And that's pretty much the whole run through of those videos is just Bond from the beginning, running through his level, busting caps, guards falling over.
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
I mean, just to give everybody kind of a reference of like the difference between 007, the GoldenEye videos, and like the Dawn of Reckoning. The GoldenEye videos were basically shot in a single day, or at least as much as possible in a single day, and then edited for a week or two, if that, if not quicker, because those were like the all-nighter nights.
I remember like Lucky Charms, Homo Security, and GoldenEye, the first one, you solely did those edits. And then I remember for the second time we did GoldenEye, which was shot at the school that we keep mentioning, the little tiny school in Gettysburg. That one you had done most of it, like 3/4 of it, and then I got my hands on your laptop, like you gave it to me to finish up. I think you had just cut your thumb off practically, so you couldn't even use your thumb to do any.
Editing. That was right. Oh well, yeah, because
and so we
shot stuff a different day with my thumb, wrapped up on that one.
So I think that video is actually my very first ever attempt at editing.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get enough of that shit.
Yeah.
And still doing it to this day. Like that's my job. That's our job. So that's like what it's turned into. But yeah, these GoldenEye things, like they had permission to be completely retarded.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were. Yeah.
But once we got to Black Ops, that's when we're like, oh, we're going to be serious now.
Well, the difference is how serious we took
Dawn of Reckoning.
It's Black Ops.
Dawn of Reckoning.
The difference is how serious we were with those.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we were storyboarding. We were getting scripts laid out for different characters. We had everything planned as literally much as possible up until the moment we get there. And it's like, okay, now this has to change because of this or that. I would say from day one, how many years do you think it took to finally finish that?
From Dawn of Reckoning, from planning it to it being uploaded, it was probably 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
To make this, ultimately, it ended up being a 20-minute thing, both parts put together.
Right.
Consisted of 7 shoot days.
Yeah.
Spread out over time.
Yeah. And it was...
And almost being arrested 2 or 3 times.
At least, yeah.
Twice at least. Like, I think there was one day, which I'll have to tell that story at some point, about where we almost were in the back of the police car for sure.
Right.
And then there was like 2 other times where we just kind of snuck away.
Yeah.
Before we really had to consider the fact that we might go to jail tonight.
Well, that's the biggest difference. The jump from like here to here is extreme, because from then on, we have at least a consistent, disregarding this one, I think we have like a more of a consistent flow to like, these are the stories we're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Because from Dawn of Reckoning on, it really feels like, okay, this all kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then to tie it all together, whenever we met Freddie W., like Matt said, was kind of like the end of that era. Like that'll always live on, and we always kind of joke around about like uploading something else on the Thex Films that's like really goofy or stupid. But I think we probably took like a general hiatus from the Thex films at that point, because then
Life.
life. At that point, I was married, or I still am married.
Started to become adults. Well, you
Yeah,
did.
I became an adult. Matt was like, "Ha, never."
Kind of just stayed back there.
So that's what happened to me, and Matt, and then it was just kind of like a hands off of like anything in that world. I mean, we would still get together and hang out, and it was always like we'd talk about doing videos on channel like the Thex films, or a new channel, or like, hey, let's start podcasting, and that's just like life.
Yeah,
life happened. So then from that point, and this goes way back, I had always had this idea in my head of actually running a company named Alchemy Point Productions. And this is something that I had told Matt about probably numerous times.
We talked about it during like fucking play day or whatever you have in high school, where you just have a day of fun, where you throw the parachute thing behind you and sit on it, and you're just in this big dome.
In high school?
Yeah, I think we were still doing it. They still did that in high school, but we talked about that.
Yeah.
And that, in most cases, when that happens, when two people are like, oh, hey, we should do that thing one day.
Right.
We actually fucking did it eventually.
Yeah. So then from the Thex films point, when that just kind of was like, okay, we're laying that down completely, we started another YouTube channel called Alchemy Point Productions. And that was where we took, I think, to tie it in, like our Dawn of Reckoning, like discipline to try to do things. That's where that is what that's become. We don't have a ton of channels on or a ton of video on that channel, but the videos that are on there, the quality is like completely different.
Yeah, that's just taking everything that was learned up until that point and applying it. And what I find, going back to the gun thing, and I keep mentioning that, but I think it's really significant, is that with the Alchemy Point videos, that's no longer like where we get all of our sustenance from.
Right. Where's the channel at?
Yeah. I think it's just Alchemy Point.
Oh, is it? Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know my own channel.
There we go. I'm actually wondering how many videos are on there. Okay. So it's only 4 videos on there.
So 4 videos.
One of them being just a remaster of Dawn of Reckoning from the Thex films,
which is crazy to look at, because this video was like 20 some minutes long. Matt remastered everything, and watching this remastered version,
George Lucased it.
Yeah. I think is just as good as day one to me. Valu here is something that we basically did right before you went to school.
Yeah, I believe so.
And that was our real attempt at like, let's make a short film as cool as possible.
I think that one, of all the videos that we've ever done just for fun, which is what these are,
right?
That one, I think, hit all the points the best.
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to acting and delivering dialogue and just enjoying the experience,
right?
And suspense and tension and horror and thrilling elements, because ultimately I would define that as like a horror thriller with like a sprinkle of comedy, or at least
right
what I think is comedy,
right?
Even though it's probably not even that funny. But the parts that I chuckle at are Jim.
Yeah.
Jim just being Jim. The main character, the asshole of the video. It's about 5 bank robbers.
Right.
It starts off, the heist has already happened, taking a page out of Reservoir Dogs book. We don't have to see the heist. There's a million movies out there of bank robbers. Put your fucking hands up, and they stand up on the counter, open the vault. We've seen all that a billion times.
Yeah.
So we don't have to show people what they've already seen and are tired of. So let's just start it like we're on the run. I say we because Alex and I both were characters in it. There was 5 bank robbers. You and I were 2 of them.
Right.
Because we were just scraping for any resource we could get, so we had to use ourselves and wear all the hats. But that's how it starts out: is the 5 robbers trying to get into the warehouse before the cops get to them.
Right.
Shut the doors behind them. They have a hostage, and that's the only reason the cops just don't come in and kick their ass.
Yeah.
And so I have no idea how that situation would actually play out in the real world. Probably nothing like that. But once we're in there, if you don't know anything about it, I find it like interesting to see like where is this going? Like, how's this going to unfold? Because if it's not a horror movie, then it would just be about the hostage and the cops outside and the robbers. They got the money, but they haven't gotten away with the money.
Right.
And so, but it's not a movie about that. That's just the backdrop.
Right.
What it's about is this thing that's in the warehouse with the 5 robbers and the hostage, with the ability to take over their bodies. And now this is taking a page out of The Thing, where there's some kind of being that is able to jump from person to person.
Right.
But with The Thing, it would like infect one person in the group, and then it would move on and infect another, and then you have 2 infected people.
Right.
The difference with this one is that this was like a spirit.
This is a single entity.
Yeah, it would be in one person, and when it would jump out of their body and into another person's body,
right,
freeing one, but then enslaving another.
Right.
And the way that it would jump from person to person is if the 2 of them made eye contact for a certain number of seconds.
Right.
Because
that's what we did.
That's just how it works.
Right.
And that enabled us to do like a lot of like cool little shticks where with burning of the money.
Yep.
Where Jim is up on the platform with $1 million in a bag.
Yeah.
And my character is down on the first floor with another $1 million.
Yeah.
And my character is possessed.
Right.
Jim doesn't know it.
Right.
I burn the $1 million that I have. Jim looks down at me and is like, what the hell did you do that for?
Yeah, so I'll just play this real quick so you can see it / hear it.
You got the money bag. Throw that money up here. I'm going to put a hole in your face. Dave, I told you to stay back. Jim, I told you to stay back. No, I saw it take you. I saw it take you. No, I don't even remember what happened. Shut up. You want to die? No, I don't. You want to die? I don't want to die. Shut the fuck up and let me talk. All of you. I'm the one who put this together. You listen to me. You do what I say.
I love those.
Stupid shithead kids. I pulled you all out of the gutter. You penniless, worthless pieces of shit. Making a little money. Whoa.
Go forward.
So it jumps out of me.
Yeah, so Matt's possessed.
Yeah. I've already poured gasoline on my $1 million.
Right.
Which the $1 million Jim has and the $1 million I have was what these 5 men obtained during their heist. So they have a total of $2 million. And in the progress of the story, Jim ends up with 1 and I end up with 1 down on the ground floor. I pour gas on my bag. Jim's like, what the hell are you still doing down there? Bring the bag up here. Let's get to the helicopter that we negotiated for, and we'll take the money and get out of here. But because Jim and I make eye contact, after I pour gas on my bag, jumps to Jim. Now Jim's possessed, throws the bag off the balcony to me. Right. Now I have both bags. Then the spirit jumps out of Jim back to me again. Now
to burn the money.
Now I have both bags.
Right. So we'll see this right here.
Yeah.
No. What the fuck?
Well done, Dave. My eyes are all blackened out.
No!
Look at those flame effects.
Not bad.
I remember I wanted so bad to have my character fall onto the flaming bags
and
just get charred, but how are we going to do that? And this is where he works. This is where Alex worked at the time.
Right.
We had been given permission to use that to shoot this movie,
and we can't do
so
real.
Can't exactly do real fires in the building, but
right.
I just think that's a really good example of this little shtick we had of the spirit jumping from person to person through eye contact, and I think that amazingly it worked.
Yeah, I agree.
It worked there. It came together there. It could have been really stupid.
Yeah,
and it was also cool with when Tim was tied up in the chair. They tied Tim up because he was possessed at one point, and while Tim is tied up and he can't get out of the chair, it jumps out of him into Dave, and now Tim's just a tied up dude. Like,
right?
Why am I in the chair? You don't even know how he got there,
right?
And now there's Dave, who's all like raging crazy, possessed,
right?
And Tim is like, and that was like dark comedy, I think, like at its finest. Just because he's just like worming around, he's trying to scoot back, and his little feet are like trying to kick the floor to get back.
Right.
His pants are hiked up real high, and his like high socks. He's like, ah!
Yeah,
just trying to get back. But, yeah, I think that's the one that just is the most well-rounded. I guess is what I'm saying. You go from Lucky Charms, and eventually we reach that, and then, which is 6 years later between the two.
Yeah, and then we have obviously the remastered, and then All Eyes on Emma and Streets Above Your Heads, which we can't play this one for obvious reasons, but or this one at the moment.
Yeah, All Eyes on Emma.
But these were two things that Matt decided to do while he was at school in Pittsburgh for film.
Yeah, you had already done your film school. At the time, most people go to film school when they're like
kind of
18, 19. Yeah. I didn't go till I was 24 or something.
Yeah.
And while I was there, got to make All Eyes on Emma, which has Peter Jones in it, which he just told me.
Great guy.
Yeah, the best. He just told me today that right now he's in a commercial that's running nationwide about like oil or something like that. Marathon runners put on themselves. Like he's running a marathon. He puts like oil on himself or something.
Yeah, really?
I haven't seen it yet. I have to track it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he was in White Boy Rick. He was the judge.
Yeah.
It was a very, very small scene. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't even really give him a close up.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen the whole movie all the way through, but I did watch Peter's scene, and he's such a talented actor.
Right.
And he has such like a good presence.
Yeah.
And his voice. And so he was cast as this judge in White Boy Rick, but the scene was very, very short. And you heard him say some lines, but I think the only time you could see him was just from like a wide shot. It was like one of those really quick scenes that's like, we have to show you this part because it's important, but let's get out of the scene really quick. Right. So then Peter was like barely even in it, but
that sucks.
Yeah, he's such a good actor, and he was so great to work with.
Right.
And so then he just told me again today, he's like, I hope you're writing something else. Like, got to make something happen.
Yeah, he was one of those people. It's kind of like Jim, that it's more of you than me, but they just like us in general. Like being able to work with you, and in turn they have to work with me because we're a package deal
with you. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those really cool things, I guess.
Well, and it was especially super awesome for me getting to work with Jim Krut.
Yeah.
Who we keep calling Jim, but Jim Krut from Dawn of the Dead, because as I fanboyed about that on the last podcast, as I fanboy about the Dead series every day of my life.
Yeah.
At some point, especially to you. I mean,
right.
Just look at my shirt.
Right.
Getting to work with Jim Krut, who was in Dawn of the Dead, the zombie that got the top of his head chopped off with the helicopter blade.
Zombie.
Yeah. Which he lives in Gettysburg, and he has like a cult following. You'll go to like restaurants, like random restaurants, and his picture's hanging up on the wall with like a little newspaper clipping about Jim Krut, the helicopter zombie.
Right.
And he ends up, because he lives so close to us, we got in contact with him through. I don't even.
Tim, wasn't it?
I think it was Tim. Like because we
Or
were
a
doing
friend
that
of
video
Tim's or
where we
something.
wanted like a cameo. It was a certain role. Oh, this was for the Centralia video that got deleted. This was another huge undertaking project, like Dawn of Reckoning, only a little bigger.
Yeah, that the hard drive just completely crapped out on, and we lost everything.
One of the hardest lessons you can learn in your movie making life is to back up your footage multiple times. But Jim had this. There was a specific role. We don't have to get all into it, but it was a specific role where we're like, it's got to be somebody like that has to do with zombies because that's what this film is about.
Like a face,
like a fun little cameo, and ended up being Jim. Yeah, Jim through Tim.
Yeah,
ended up being that face. And although that whole video crashed and burned, and thank you everybody for working so hard on it. Sorry,
there was literally 4 cars full of people.
It was
hours.
It was like 5 or 6 cars.
Yeah.
And on the way there,
so
the car at the very back makes a wrong turn right at the beginning. But yeah, we went to Centralia, PA, which is what I've heard a million times.
Silent Hill.
Yeah, what Silent Hill is based off of. And my God, that was, man, it was we had great time shooting it. Although the first shoot day was so damn cold.
Yeah.
We were up there with like 20, 25 people. Half the cast, like just a few hours in, was just like, we're going to go sit in the cars.
Right.
It's too damn cold.
Right.
What are we going to do?
Right.
Oh, you're under contract. No, they're not. It's just like helping us out again.
Right.
But who could blame them, really? It was like bitter ass cold that day.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Then that was kind of a crapshoot. And then we came, no pun intended, we came back a second time, got everything done we wanted to. It was going to be 4 episodes.
Yep.
Each one was like 5 or 6 minutes long. First episode made it up, which was shot in Henryton. It wasn't even shot in Centralia. So this was like, we're putting together a movie where we don't just go to one cool ass abandoned location. We're going to mash together 2 of them.
Yeah.
And really make it
and
look
they
like.
would have worked 100%.
Yeah. Really going to build a world here.
Right.
So the first episode made it up. The other 3 episodes were pretty much done.
Right.
Maybe a few little bells and whistles to hang on them. And it might have even been at the point where they were done. We were just waiting a week to upload the next episode.
Yeah.
But computer crash. And you had shot a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Like the footage was on the other cards, but unknowingly Alex did a wedding for a friend long before we were even wedding videographers.
Yeah.
And so couldn't even go back and get the clips. But
yeah, because I had asked you, I was like, hey, are you good if I delete this stuff? And you were like, yeah, you're fine.
Wrong answer.
Yeah, because at that point we didn't have another car. We probably only had one SD card to work with. We probably only had, we only had one camera to work with. We had like the bare minimum of everything.
Every time we would do a movie, we would scrape together just whatever we had.
Yeah. Which really wasn't a lot. And the thing about like looking back on that time period, everything was like, what do you call it? The seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Flying by the seat of your pants.
We were flying by the seat of our pants because everything we did was, if something happens, we lose something. Like there was never safeties or safeguards put into place. It was just, hey, we got what we need, right? Yeah. No one ever talked about backups.
Yeah.
And then
it sounds stupid to say now.
Yeah. Well, because we fast forward now to a more professional, like we're doing this professionally.
Yeah.
Like with weddings.
Professional anything.
Well,
about
we
back
have
then.
backups on. We have like sometimes we have 3 different places that the footage is on. And that at least tells us that, oh my gosh, we're going to have one location at least where the footage is going to be on be able to be accessed. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, we've learned from a lot of those mistakes. That one was probably the hardest to swallow in a sense because there were so many people that helped us with that and expected to see the videos. And it was so hard to basically just be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And then like that Ascension, the first one, that was like something that got at least general traction on YouTube. So it was like
even Armed Gamer
yeah,
that put out articles about like fan films because that was based off Call of Duty Zombies.
yeah,
And they had put up on like their article page, their online article, here's the first episode, be on the lookout for the next 3.
yeah. And
so we had people
like
tuned in.
We had what I would say is like a minor relationship with him.
Yeah.
To the point where he liked us enough where he was going to write an article when we did something of worth. And we had that in our back pocket. And it was just like, oh my God.
It was one of those
just not going to happen now.
Yeah. Like we'll have that to you by Friday kind of things. Yeah. And it was already done. So it was like, yeah, you'll have it by Friday.
Right.
But what happened between that point and Friday was a computer crash.
Right.
And so then had to tell him, well,
sorry, bro.
Sorry, it ain't never going to come.
Right.
And had to tell each person that worked with us.
Yeah.
Hey, how's that video going?
And it kills me.
It takes the knife that's already stuck in you and just twists it and
kills
twist
me
it and twist it.
To look on the comments of that video because everybody's like, oh, you should make more of these. And it's so hard to not be like, we did and we lost it all.
Yeah.
And now that was, I think, the video where it was very clear that that was our attempt at getting favors from people. And it's kind of like, that's not going to happen anymore, especially from that set of people.
We were trying to make it on YouTube, and we were trying to do that by, we know we loved making the action movies. Right. We loved making the zombie movies. We had fun doing that. But to get the views, to actually make this our jobs,
right,
it had to be something people watched.
Right.
So it was given that Call of Duty Zombies.
Yeah.
That's the craze right now, kids.
Well, it was like it was the
cash in on that.
What's the headline at the moment for the hipsters?
I remember, like you'd look up Call of Duty Zombies fan film,
right,
or whatever. You would see other channels that had put up fan films. That was like 14-year-olds running around their mom's house making a zombie parody that would get millions of views.
Yep.
And I was like, if there was a bunch of middle schoolers doing that with plastic guns and Nerf, and getting millions, how much better?
Why can't we do it?
What kind of reception are we going to get if we actually make this a production?
Right.
And put that out there.
Yeah.
So we're like, there's no reason this can't
doesn't work.
Succeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In our head, it was
there is a reason, because your computer can crash.
Right. And I remember specifically probably multiple times where Matt and I had like some very angry conversations about like how it happened, why it happened. You know, I know for a fact that he definitely blamed me for deleting the footage, which I did. There's obviously no reason that that's not true, because I did delete the footage. It was just, I did it with basically the knowing of like, oh yeah, all that footage we do have on the computer, so it's no big deal because we do have it. And there was no backup, there was no nothing that we had at the time where we're like, oh yeah, so we're editing with the footage and also we have a backup. Like now we edit off of a hard drive that has the footage, plus it's backed up somewhere, plus we could have it on the SD card still. So at least there's 3. Not anymore. Not back in the day. Back in the day, it was fly by the seat of your pants. We're not spending any more money than we need to, because, you know, at that point, Matt was the one who fueled a lot of it, because I'm an adult now and can't spend money on these silly things. And Matt's like, yeah, well, I'm going to still do it.
I'm still living at home. I have some extra change.
Right.
So I would find myself at Walmart in the sporting goods section every weekend looking at airsoft guns.
Right.
Ooh, what new cool stuff do we have in this aisle today?
Right.
What can I spend $60 to $100 on?
Yeah.
while I'm in Walmart. And yeah, over time accumulated so many guns
Oh yeah.
that we were able to eventually do Dawn of Reckoning
Right.
and this zombie film, which was never to be, sadly.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, which sucks. It really does, but it
yeah,
is
what
it
more
is
can
at
you
this
do
point.
but chalk it up to a learning experience? And
Right.
had that not happened, who knows? Maybe we would have got a little bit into the future and I would have done something even dumber
Right.
because I hadn't learned the lesson yet.
Right.
So at least with the losing the zombie film, at least our names weren't on any contracts.
Yeah. Well,
It was
and
just
then
very disappointing.
to move forward past that point, that brings us to kind of like today. So we did those couple of videos for Alchemy Point, and we then got to the point where it was kind of like, hey guys, or hey guys, hey Matt, hey Alex. It was like, if we want to kind of keep doing this, we kind of have to do something that makes money.
Yeah.
And so that's when so Alchemy Point Productions was our thing, and then Bows and Veils became our wedding branch of the company. And how that started was a friend of both of ours, because she went to the same high school, contacted Matt and was just like, hey, I know you. It was basically like, hey, I know you and Alex do those stupid videos. Would you be willing to do to do my wedding? And of course, Matt calls me, is like, what do you think? And it was just kind of like, oh, I don't know. I did a previous friend's wedding, but that was just like a favor. So is she going to pay us? Well, what's like that whole conversation.
Yeah.
And then it came down to, yeah, well, let's do it. And we did it. And we had an unbelievable fun time doing it.
Yeah.
Like a really, really fun
enjoyed it
time
way
doing
more than we thought we would.
Like to go from, hey, we're doing Dawn of Reckoning and just murdering bad guys constantly and there's blood everywhere. And then we're like, hey, we're wedding people now.
Yeah. We're just going to carry that style right on over into the wedding world.
So after that first wedding, it was probably 6 months later or so, maybe not even that long. Matt was just kind of like, what do you were still in school at that time.
Yes, I was still in school.
Because then you were like, I don't think I'm going back to school next semester. And then it was just like, what do you think about trying to do weddings?
Right.
And my initial reaction to all of that kind of stuff is like, I don't love wedding. Like, that's not what I think I want to do.
They're kind of lame.
Yeah. And, but I was like, if we can, at first, I'll put it this way. I think it was kind of like, if we can make monies to then do like the videos we want, then that's what we're going to do. And we did a handful of weddings the first year we attempted it. And it was like, my God, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was like, neither one of us could get enough of it at that point. And then it was just like, okay, we're going to try to do this as hard as possible. Let's go into this let's dive to the deep end to see what we can do. And from that point on, it just has not stopped.
I think the cause and effect of our filmmaking careers is very interesting. And also the contrast of where it was and where it is now.
Oh, yeah.
Because after we had decided, like, we know how we want to make money. Like, we had it figured out, like, what we want to do.
Yeah.
Which is very hard for people to figure out. What do I want to do? Oh, we knew we wanted to be YouTube stars.
Right.
So we tried to make the cash in on the Call of Duty Zombies craze by making a Call of Duty Zombies fan film. And like, we were like fully invested in that thing.
Right.
And saw it, and I envisioned it in my head as being a success. I saw lots of people watching it and us like getting traction with the YouTube and finally making money and finally not having to tell everyone like, when you're going to get a real job.
Right.
Oh, well, YouTube's going to pay us soon. Just hold out for this zombie movie.
Yeah.
It's a big one. It's a culmination of everything we've learned up until this point. We're putting all that passion into this zombie film. So the computer crashes and we lose it all. But I think because that happened, that prompted me to immediately be in search of something else.
Yeah.
At the time I was working in the OR, which, I do miss that job sort of, but I felt very unfulfilled, and I no longer had this zombie film, and like our gas tank
was gone.
For the sense of like, what are we going to do? Let's start putting together yet another zombie film and try to get the same 20 disappointed people back again.
Right.
It just didn't feel like the right avenue.
Yeah, it wasn't happening.
So I end up in school.
Right.
I quit my good job at the time in the OR to go to school for filmmaking. Too dumb to even think about like how much money I'm going to have to sink into it. I was just like, it's just the right move.
Right.
Because whatever I do, it has to be film. It has to be related. And if this door shut in my face because we lost all the footage,
then I'm gonna
next path of least resistance, college.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, but the door's open.
Right.
I'll just walk through it and deal with the money later. I'll get a good job and I'll be able to pay it off. Like, so everyone goes to college. Like, so many kids go to college and they're still doing it today. So they must. Why do people keep going? Well, I guess because everything turns out okay in the end.
Yeah,
I just kind of figured everything would turn out okay in the end.
Right.
Only there for 3 semesters. Don't regret going.
Right.
But I'm glad I got out when I did.
Yeah.
Because I met just enough people, made just enough friends, learned just enough things from a few very special people, from great professors. To stay any longer would have just been kind of throwing my money away for an education I could get off YouTube.
Yeah.
And I realized it was more valuable to use my time to get going with it, start making it happen, stop sitting in the classroom.
Right.
Like, enough, what you're doing,
right?
Like enough to do something.
Yeah.
And it was weddings.
Yeah.
It's like,
because you can only be told so much of the same thing before you're like, well, there's no other information that's being given to me.
Yeah. So it starts with Lucky Charms. What we think is the best version of how to use a camera and tell a story is people getting shotgunned by a vengeful leprechaun spirit,
right,
or whatever the hell he is. We go from that, and that evolved all the way into weddings.
Right. Some bride
opposite. What's the opposite?
Bride walking down the aisle, trusting us to make it happen.
What's the opposite of a murderous, rampaging lunatic leprechaun with a shotgun? Weddings.
Puppies.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Or weddings,
fluffy stuff like that.
Right.
So it was in us the whole time. Like, we enjoyed doing weddings, like telling something more meaningful than a dumb story about people getting shot for nothing over a box of cereal.
Right.
There was actually much more meaning that we had to give.
Right.
It just existed the last rock I would have turned over.
Yeah, it's just something that I would have never expected us to do ever.
Yeah, but now that we're doing it,
it makes a lot of sense.
There's just such magic in it because it's
right.
It's real people, it's real life, and when certain little moments of that are captured and put on a timeline and run to the tune of someone else's music,
it's awesome.
This magic happens, and we're like, didn't even know it was there.
Yeah. So for the viewers of the podcast, show you just like the front of our page, and this is kind of like the highlights of
there we are
the stuff. And this is some of our favorite footage that we've ever captured.
We actually have to make a new one of these because this is all weddings from 2019.
That's what December and January is for.
Yes, sir.
But some of the best stuff we've ever shot. It has been just an absolutely awesome wild ride.
It's a party every weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, when I watch this stuff, you think, my God, like, we have met so many awesome people and have been to so many awesome places so far. It's like, it can, like, the worst it can be is par for the course.
Oh, for sure.
Which is the weirdest thing to say, because you're like, par is not good, but it's also not bad. Because going to like a 9 to 5 and then,
this is like so fulfilling to me because it checks just about like every single box you could ask a job to check. You get to go new cool places. You get to meet really cool people. You get to do something that's really fun and that you love doing. You get to work from home. You get to just be comfortable playing with your little editor like a little kid. It's like playing a video game that never ends. And then you get to show it to the couple and they're genuinely happy. And then other people watch it. They love watching it. You get all this like,
oh my God.
You get this praise from it. And so then you're getting showered with all that. And then at the end of the day, you're like, and this is meaningful. This was a meaningful undertaking because they're still going to treasure that 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So what we did wasn't in vain ultimately, because for these people, it actually has. It actually has
serious meaning. Yeah.
So being wedding videographers, yes, if there's like 100 boxes, I think it checks like 99 of them.
Yeah.
The 100th box, like, though, if there's a downside to being a wedding videographer, I would just say that it's your ass on the line. Like, you're responsible.
Well, that's kind of capturing any videographer.
But it's because they only happen the day happens one time.
One chance, and that's it.
So that's like the one thing is that you get like one chance to get it right while you're there.
Yeah.
If you miss it, it's gone. It can never be. You can never reach back and grab it again.
Yep.
And if you did, it wouldn't be genuine. It wouldn't be real.
Right.
So that's just like the one thing.
Yeah.
It's like just the one thing. So you really got to just focus on that one.
Because it's gonna suck if you miss anything. It's just
you got to put your juices, your resources up here into that 100th slot,
right?
And
because
make sure
if you
do it right.
I mean, if you miss something, it's not the end of the world. But there are major parts.
There's unmissable parts.
Yeah, there's some unmissable parts to a wedding that, my God, if you miss them, you can't stop the wedding and say like, "Hey, can you walk down the aisle again because I wasn't paying attention."
Yeah.
You can't do it.
No. Like, let's say you capture the perfect wedding day.
Right.
You miss one thing.
Yep.
The kiss at the ceremony. That's all you miss.
It's
you got everything else.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
But you don't have that.
Yeah.
What do?
That's gonna
How do you make a video?
Odd. Yeah.
I mean, this would be kind of cheating at the point I'm trying to make. You just be like, oh well, the photographer can give me a shot and I'll do something fancy where it's like a freeze frame of that. But let's just, in our own hypothetical little world that we're making, say that there was no photographer. It was all you. It was one of those people, and this happens.
Right.
People want to just hire a videographer, and
we had that one time.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, like a video is a picture. It's many pictures put together. So why get both? So if we were in that situation,
we like photographers.
Yeah. We love our photographers. We always enjoy working with them.
Yeah.
It's a team effort, and we've always had a good team.
Yeah. And
just about every time.
Not getting on that subject.
But I have to be honest.
Just one time. Just about every time.
Just one time. Wasn't so
99.9% of the time.
Wasn't pretty
awesome.
Just one time.
But if we're in that hypothetical land,
I'm just saying, what do you
like?
Do?
We've heard stories of stuff like that happening where stuff just isn't captured because of it might not even be your fault. Like a photographer recently told us about the mother of a bride literally being in her way, and she had to be like, "Hey, I need to do this." And the mother of the bride was very belligerent about it because it was like, "I'm the mother." And it's like, "I was paid to be here. Right. Get out."
Yeah.
And it's tough. Some things are really tough.
Well,
I think we have the advantage of being video, because if you miss 2 seconds of something but get something of it, normally you can work it in as long as you're paying attention to your edit. If you miss something as a photographer, you just flat out miss it.
Yeah. Our cameras are taking 24 little pictures every second.
Right.
So it's always something you can do. 23.976 to be exact. To be all fancy.
Yeah. But yeah. And that's kind of like, that's why I think on the way to every wedding, both of us are like, at least, well, I know I am slightly anxious, because I'm like, my God, if we forgot something, if we missed something, if there's something that you know, just basic stuff. Like if we forgot an IC recorder, like what are we doing for audio at that point? There's no way we can't get around not having the audio. So it's like, what are we doing? What can we, like, you can't, like, there will be mess ups 100%.
As with anything.
It's just, this is
the mess ups just really sting with this stuff.
Right. And this is the difference between, you know, the Ascension videos, or what were going to be the Ascension videos,
the zombie
Ascension. And now is, back then we had no backup to anything. Now we have, at a single wedding, we have 6 different audio recorders that we could use at any moment.
Yeah.
Because, and it happened
at least.
Yeah. And it happened recently where I'm miking up an officiant and you're standing there with me and I'm like, this is bad.
It just doesn't work.
Go give me another one. And you come back with another one. It works. And we lost 2 minutes of time. We didn't lose anything valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, time is valuable, but
yeah,
in the grand scheme of thing, okay, whatever. The officiant can't do the wedding if we're still miking up.
If you could lay out like a timeline of your whole career, like on a big white strip,
right,
and the times that things are going to go to shit are indicated with like a little red dot.
Yeah,
you're going to see a few of them along the
weddings.
Strip.
The entire strip is
you're
red.
You're not going to have a clean strip,
right?
There's going to be these little red dots, and you never know when they're going to come.
Yeah.
And
it's gonna suck.
Yeah, they're gonna sneak up on you, and something that's been working for you up until this point is just suddenly gonna fail you.
Yep.
And you just have to, like, first of all, be like, okay, recognize this is a problem.
Yeah.
And I have to be cool because I have to solve the problem, or it's gonna get worse.
Yep.
And that with that IC recorder, been cool, never had an issue. All of a sudden, this just isn't working.
Right.
It won't turn on, or it said it was full and it wouldn't
record.
record.
SD card said the memory was full.
Yeah. Well, that's what backups are for. We had another one.
Right.
We just happened to have another one.
And the stupid thing is on the way to putting the bad IC recorder into the case, I think I had asked you, or you had like pulled the SD card out and put it back in, and then it was fine.
Yeah.
So it's just the ability to cover our ass in everything is like completely different now than what it was before.
Yeah,
because it has to be.
You just have to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, and not to make it sound like it's the most serious job in the world. Like I said, I worked in an OR, and when it comes to that stuff, that's an anesthesiologist's job, or is a bit more important.
It's slightly different. Yeah.
That one you really want to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's,
right,
and make sure everything's up to par and working. But I guess it just has such a bad sting to it.
Yeah, of course,
with the weddings, because it's this special thing that only happens once, and it's your responsibility to get it. Like, they trust you to get it,
right,
and get it in the best way that you can based off your other work.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, without going into detail about what happened this year, we made a dire mistake that we thought would never be an issue or ever would happen, and my Lord, did it hurt. It was unbelievably confusing, and it was just bad. It was just bad.
It was so bad that I was even able to deal with it.
Yeah,
because
which is very odd.
Little things that go wrong, I get pissed.
Right.
I get so irritated, so mad.
He's borderline punching holes through car doors.
It goes away. It goes away in 5 to 10 minutes. But this was so bad that I actually was able to just deal with it, because I was like, you don't have a choice, dude. Like, this is
there's no option now.
Yeah. And so I guess that's how that works. And I guess part of that kind of has to do with being in the OR, because like with something that
the little things that bother you definitely don't.
Yeah. Like if this remote doesn't work, or
you'll lose your mind.
Well, actually, I wouldn't with the remote, but this fucking Blu-ray player over here, this Philips.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
I hate it, because I'll be on YouTube doing my YouTube thing, whatever, surfing around, and the Blu-ray player just comes on.
Right.
And this is like where I start to think this room is haunted.
Yeah.
The TV will like switch sources to the DVD player. and this just happens. Why
Yeah.
does it do that? And if I actually want to watch something on the DVD player, it's going to take forever to open.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
I'll turn it on.
I
that
think you
takes
just
forever.
need a different DVD player.
I'll hit the open button. Press
How
it
long have you
again
had it?
And again. I don't know. That thing, I needed a Blu-ray player in this room. I found one in a box somewhere in my other house.
So it's
So
probably like an original Blu-ray player when they first started to be
it could be
sold.
vintage.
It's probably why it's not working.
Yeah, so I definitely got to get that fixed. But anyway, point being that like extraordinary circumstances of problems, it's just
Right.
interesting how I kind of feel like I'm able to
Deal with it.
deal with them, or at least like control myself better for those things. But then like these insignificant things that don't mean shit
Drive
It-
you literally up a wall.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It has no bearing on
Right.
my life going one way or the other. It's just like a little annoying prod, and I'm
Right.
just like, fuck you,
Yeah.
fuck you. But that's why I can do weddings.
Yeah.
Because
Weddings are great.
It's like it's on that level above that.
Right.
So I'm
it's
able
on
to-
the it's
I can
on the
operate there.
level of seriousness to the point where you can't let it
And
bother you.
Now you're this kind of person, and this is like what I've always liked about you. The first day
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Because I remember the first day we met
I don't
at ACA.
really.
It was. I'm glad you don't, because my way of introducing myself was retarded.
What was it?
You were in the gym, and I walk in, and I'm just like, hey, or hey man, and you're just like, oh hey man, how are you doing? And I just said something like, God, I just hope I get used to this place really fast. And I don't know what you said after that, but it was like the most like down.
You were so serious
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Like you're
And
all
guess what? Surprise!
Yeah.
You never really got used to it.
No, you're all chipper and cheery, and that's your thing. Like you were always able to just be like happy,
I'm silver
just
line.
like pure optimist through and through.
Right.
You wake up feeling good, smiling, being in the best of moods. You go to bed like the same way, or like that's how I perceived you.
Right.
And like I told you before, when
That's
we would
definitely not true, but yeah.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
good to know. Good
Yeah,
to know
yeah.
you're not perfect.
I'm a robot.
Pardon me, Mr. Perfect. Pardon me, Mr. Perfect. But like when we would have these like retarded ass wrestling matches in my basement,
Yeah.
the jujitsu before jujitsu,
Yeah.
we would just have people from like our class come over and we'd wrestle around. But like,
Literally wrestle.
yeah, if you weren't gonna be there, I would because I would get a text from somebody if you were
Yeah.
gonna be there or not. It wasn't you. I probably didn't even have your number yet.
Yeah.
I was like, God, I wish I did, but I'm just not cool enough yet. I'm not in his fan club. What's this high school guy? Like, this guy's a grade above me. Like, but it was like, if you,
I'm really not that important.
no comment. But like, I'm just saying, like, if you weren't going to be there, I remember feeling like, well, this night's kind of shot.
Right.
Like, we'll have fun, but it's just too bad he's not there. But like, yeah, looking back on that, it was just because like you were just able to stay like just happy, cool, calm all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like that aura coming out that was like always just like having you there in the basement was just radiate out like this ball of like good times.
Right.
And so you wanted that ball of good times, that radiating ball to be that is you.
You wanted my balls.
I wanted your
in the
balls to
basement.
radiate happiness and joy. Little munchkins.
The only simple way the only simple way that I know how to like explain that, I guess, is I have a pretty I take it pretty seriously in controlling my space. Not to the fact not to the extent where I'm like, hey, you can't do that because this is my space. Not like that. It's just like when I walk into an environment, I don't want it to be hostile. I don't want it to be negative. Nobody does.
Right.
And if you sit in that too long, that's just kind of like what you become. So like anytime I am somewhere, my attempt is just to be myself regardless of the environment, because the environment doesn't control me. Like that's just how I've always looked at it. So when I'm in weird environments or like hyper negative environments and stuff, and I can't change it, then I leave.
Yeah.
That's just how I've always been. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to be involved in it
Right.
because it's not good for me. It's not good for any type of mental health. It's not good for anything,
Yeah.
you know. And that kind of goes for I think my entire life, it's just like any situation where I felt like, this is done with me being able to control like my mental stability in it. It's not like a good place to be.
Yeah.
And so like, it's just
you were smart enough to know to just get out of there, out of that situation. Don't surround yourself with those people anymore. Maybe that was part of my problem. Well, because you end up being the people you surround yourself with the most.
Yeah, and it's very odd to think about because you think, like, not to get into any specific conversation, but it's like, like the people you surround yourself with, if you don't know how to be yourself completely, then as a default, the human body or the human mind, what's the word? Not copycats, but just they try to blend in.
Yeah.
Which in turn, then the mind then becomes something that it really isn't meant to be, in a sense. And people, not to get like stupid,
people
like
are
philosophical or thought, but
like what you're saying, people are like bloodhounds, and they'll pick up on that. They'll know.
And I mean, you hang around with certain people, and you just don't know how to say no, or just kind of like hold back and say like, this is, I am a positive type person and blah, 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 blah. Then you will become what did you say? You will become what you hang around or whatever.
Oh, whoever you surround yourself with most.
I mean, that's the
if you hang out with 5 idiots.
Yeah, that's the easiest
your whole life.
Thing
You're going to
say.
become the 6th idiot.
Right. And that's just something I've always been like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a very strong like mental will. So it's like,
give me some of that.
I can just pretty immediately just be like, I don't want any of that. See ya. Like, it doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
And probably to a fault, I don't care how it affects other people also.
Mm-hmm.
Because without sounding like a dick, like my mental health is the most important thing to me, because if it's not, then I can never help anybody else out.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I portrayed some type of like silver lining thing, even if I didn't feel like it. It was just like, whatever.
I think mine came from like trying to be a people pleaser all the time and failing because you can't do that.
Yep.
And then getting pissed at myself because I failed at it.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I still deal with that today.
I'm telling the air. I'm telling all our fans.
I deal with that now specifically because I'm in business with this guy.
But we know each other so well at this point. Like, we have transcended business partners. We've transcended high school buddies.
Yeah.
Like, we have this almost a marriage sort of thing between you and I.
Yeah.
And we know each other so well, and you know how to push my buttons. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I see what he did. Bastard.
Yeah, I'm just trying to break you down, and then I build you back up in the bed.
Like the Marine Corps.
I'm not trying to brainwash you.
Well, it's working. But if we've been at this, like, if from Lucky Charms, like, if we're still at it, then we know we're on the right path.
Yeah,
because here we are,
and
look at what we've got now.
And I mean, it's like, to kind of wrap everything up, it's like we're at the point now where the path that we have chosen is like fueling itself.
Yeah.
And like this podcast specifically is just like another avenue, another way to vent, another way to talk. And kind of like Matt said in the first episode, we talk so much on like the rides from and to weddings, or anytime we're together, that it's just kind of like, maybe we're kind of a-holes to think this, but it's like, somebody else probably would like to hear this. I know it sounds completely stupid to say that out loud.
So egotistical of us.
But in a certain light, it's kind of like, let's just record this so that we can listen to it back, maybe, and then maybe somebody else can get something out of it.
If we enjoy talking about it so much, then maybe somebody else would too, because we love hearing ourselves talk about it.
God,
we probably just talk just to hear ourselves talk. But we have so much fun doing it, so we're just like, well, we'll throw this on the airwaves, and everybody's doing it this year. It's the new cool thing to do. Start a podcast, see how you do with it, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this ended up we were two men with nowhere to go. We were no direction.
So
with
we
this
wanted to
podcast.
started to talk.
So we just talked, and we ended up telling our whole entire kind of film career passion.
Yeah. From start
could
to
throw
where
a few
we're
other
at now.
words in there
Yeah.
to sum it all up.
Yeah,
that's
but-
kind of like the journey of us
Yeah.
in doing what we do together.
Yeah.
And we had like a lot of, and along the way, all along this way, it's been like just great stories.
Yep.
With awesome people that we still want to work with again in the
Yeah.
future. The Jims, the Tims, the
Yeah.
Peters of the world, the Daves.
Yeah,
as
and
fun as the Stoltzfusses,
yeah, and
the Seths, the Jaces.
yeah,
like,
and as we go through this, I mean, I'm sure we'll have a podcast or two that gets into like specific stories because some of those are just absolutely hilarious and borderline terrifying to like listen to / experience. But
that's why we can do a podcast, is because each thing we do, every little endeavor always comes with a story.
I mean, we
behind it.
talked about it last night on the way home from a wedding. We are like, oh yeah, remember over there on that, you know, we're like crossing a bridge on a river, and it's kind of like, hey, you remember we were sitting over there at another wedding? And it's like, my gosh, we have so many stories we could talk about.
Yeah.
And it's just it's cool to be able to do that, and it's cool to be able to literally record it.
Right.
Not just so we can like attempt to build a following, but just to record it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that, you know, on my deathbed type of thing. It'd be kind of fun to look back at the podcasts and the videos and be like, this is what I've done.
And that's kind of the whole goal, is the less regretful questions you have to ask yourself on your deathbed, the better you've done it in life.
Right.
At least that's how I view it.
Yeah. But I mean, I know I've told Matt a million times, but like, I'm someone, and it probably aids into my personality, but it's like, I'm going to try everything that I want to do because I'm not taking the route where it's like, oh, I should have attempted that. Like, I'm going to try.
Yeah.
If we can't make anything out of it, or if I don't succeed in any way, then I don't, but I tried.
And whether you believe in fate or not, it just wasn't for you.
Right. Exactly.
You figured that out. You don't have to wonder about it your whole life.
And it just makes it easier that way if you accept it.
Yeah.
You know, after the try, because you have to.
Right. You have to at least try.
Right.
And try hard.
Yeah.
But you'll know it. You'll know that your instinct will tell you
if
you should keep up with it or not. And it could take a lot of searching, but eventually you just gotta you can never cease being hungry for finding what your passion is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of trial and error for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of hard lessons.
Yeah.
In that process of trial and error.
Yeah. And not to be like corny or something, I guess, but to bring up Yoda, I think one thing that I do credit us with a ton is like his phrase, there is no try, like just do, or do,
I sent
there is
that
no
to somebody
try.
recently in a text,
You know,
actually.
And I give us credit for that.
Yeah.
Because usually when we have an idea, we don't try it, we do it.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome.
Right.
And that what has brought us to this spot right here where we're now talking about what we have done.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because that all of a sudden is like epiphany, like that really brings us full circle.
Right.
Like at least with Dex Film stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, our story with Alchemy and like Bows and Veils is definitely not close to being over, but
yeah, like it's always been video. That's always been the core of everything.
Yeah.
And video can be a lot of things, and it can go from something like Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
Running around with a shotgun, shooting people for no reason other than they stole your cereal.
Yeah.
It can go from that to what we're doing now, weddings.
Right.
Giving somebody this thing that they can sit down and re-immerse themselves in.
Yeah.
Which is where some of the most important things that'll ever happen in their life happen in this video. Some of the most important things that are said are being said in this video, and you can hear it and see it over and over again.
Right.
So yeah, there was an evolution there. So we just kept doing.
Right.
Not trying, we just kept doing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't look back at that and say any of that was a failure at all, except for the hard drive crash.
That was a failure.
Yeah, that was an epic failure. But that came with a good lesson.
Yeah.
And so at least that's something.
Right. But I think this is a good place to end it because
we've come
now,
full circle.
Now it's kind of like people that do end up and listen and or watch these podcasts are experiencing in real time us doing this because this is what we chose to do. Mostly because we love talking and we love talking about our experiences, but it just makes everything super easy to kind of get it out in a way, you know?
Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. It's letting all that out. That's 10 years we gave you.
Right.
And 10 years from now, it's going to be a variation of what it is now.
10 seasons of a podcast.
Yeah. That's going to be just another evolution part of it.
But, you have any last words?
None that I can think of.
Alrighty then.
I should probably quote Night of the Living Dead in some way.
Do you want to?
But
you have 2 seconds.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. But that's not from Night of the Living Dead. It's from Dawn, because they're all Dawn.
Okay, anyway.
Dawn.
So if you guys want to listen to this, just audio or anything like that, you can go to anchor.fm, I guess, / the Alchemy Point podcast.
If you don't ask me, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Support us, please, just by subscribing to Anchor's like subscription thing or YouTube's. Just keep in touch. We are going to be trying to enter the social media field with this stuff as soon as possible. But until then,
I just do what he tells me.
Yeah. Until then, we will see you next time, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Comment if you want us to watch something specific.
Just tell us what you want.
Yeah. Tell us something specific, like a video that is on YouTube or anywhere. Tell us what you want us to watch. We will watch it and then at least do maybe a small review of it. Maybe not a whole episode. Unless it is a whole movie, then we could probably do a whole episode. But leave it down in the comments. Send us a voice message on Anchor. Just give us some feedback. We appreciate it.
Well, goodbye.
Him next tonight.
You know, freaking no, what's this thing? I've had it half on your side. You're out to your desk. You're